It begins normally enough.
Isabella, I don't have time for this! Open up!
Or as normal as shutting outside her room could get this early in the evening. On a Monday, no less. This isn't how I want to start my week, but here I am, trying not to make a fool of myself in front of anyone who happens to pass by. I'm not even sure if our landlady's home yet, and I sure hope not. She won't like this ruckus. But it's not like we haven't had an argument before. We have, plenty of times. There's that one time with the groceries, and another that has something to do with the mess in her room. Sometimes it has to do with my eating habits or her eating habits. There's also the one in the movie house a few days ago, but that one got resolved pretty uneventfully. Or so I'd like to believe. She seemed to be in a good mood when she asked us all out for that little celebratory treat. Anyway, the point is, we didn't go through 5 years worth of being friends without having a little argument here and there. Granted, it can get pretty petty at times, but none of them has pushed either of us to end this friendship. Yet. Although most of them does end up with her sulking in her room until I pull her out of it. A child through and through. This morning, however...
You're still not going to believe me, even if someone else already died, no?
There really comes a point where you need to smack some sense into people. It's murder. The authorities said so. And yet she's still going on about the Halloween prank like it's that bloody letter's fault.
It's a piece of paper, Isabella! What can a piece of paper do? Give you a paper cut? I swear, you can be so frustrating at times!
I know Rose is a close friend to her, but she's doing her death a huge disservice by being like this. Taking out my mobile, I dial her number, and sure enough, her own rings from the other side of the door. I don't hang up in case something possesses her to answer, or she's just sleeping, but I've been going at this for 15 minutes now. If she didn't hear me after that, she sure as hell is ignoring me. On purpose.
Isabella, I know you're in there! Can you please stop this nonsense? You're acting worse than my students when they're throwing a tantrum. You're not a kid anymore!
A minute. And another. Then I'm ending the call, fishing out a copy of her key from my bag, and unlocking the door. She lent it years ago after I complained about the mess and offered my help in cleaning up. I thought the gesture was completely unnecessary then. After all, I could always knock. But she never did bother taking them from me, always returning it or turning away from the conversation whenever I insist. At one point, I simply stopped trying to hand it back to her. Good thing I did. Now her stubbornness is coming in handy. For once, she did something right. Miracles and miracles, isn't it?
Isabella, I'm coming in and we are going to talk!
Without waiting for her answer, I push the door open and march inside. Her lights are off. Although the telly is running, it merely gives the room a dim glow. Dimmer than it used to be, in fact, mainly due to its age. She bought that set from a second-hand store nearby. It has been with her since she started living here, though she doesn't really watch anything on it. Even on weekends, she doesn't seem to have any use for it. It's just background noise, so the place wouldn't be as quiet if she's working from home. She told me how much she misses the clamor of the city, and here in Salem Mall, it's just quiet everywhere. That silence bothered her more than anything new and unfamiliar she encountered in her first year here. If the rent isn't cheap, she probably would have moved away already. It's an odd side of hers, but there are worse ones.
Like when she's moping.
I find her sitting at her work desk, bent over the mess of papers and folders littering the top, nose almost touching the paper she's working on. On one end, I can make out the silhouette of a stack of empty noodle cups, though I fight the unexpected urge to wrinkle my nose at the sight. Her clean habits are also the least of my concerns right now. I can reprimand her later for it. But first, we need to talk and put an end to those silly misconceptions she's been feeding her mind.
We need to talk about this letter nonsense!
She doesn't answer. She doesn't move. She's giving me the silent treatment because I won't buy her little horror story? Just the thought of it irks me and prods at my already short temper. And with each second that passes, it grows ever shorter.
Isabella, I know you're busy. I'll let you go back to your work once we sort this out. You can't keep going on like this.
Still no response, and slowly frustration begins to seep into my tone.
Why must you always be so difficult?
Then anger.
I'm telling you to listen to me! Oh, will you face me? I'm talking to you, Isabella!
Without warning, I've given her an ample number of those, I'm marching across her room, each of my stride brisk and heavy with purpose, when it's not stepping on apparent wet mess that forces my whole body to freeze. Rather, it's the sun's smell permeating the air. Bitter, sharp, thick enough that I can almost taste it. My hand hastily goes to cover my nose, but even then the acrid smell still reeks. Like the smell of iron reacting to the skin when rubbed. Like blood. My gaze shifts to Isabella's back, head still bent over her table, unmoving. In this light, I can't get a good look at her, but I know for sure she won't simply leave a puddle here. Now she's working on papers she could accidentally spill on. A puddle of what, though? I don't want to make any hasty judgments yet, despite what my mind screams at me. It could be anything. It could be... There could be a leak here somewhere or whatever. But despite what I tell myself, fear easily worms its way to my voice when I call out to her again.
Isabella?
Something heavy lodges itself to my throat.
Belle?
The sound of my heartbeat thrashes against my ears.
Belle? Answer me! Please!
With a trembling hand, I reach for her shoulder, and gently as I can, I turn her around. My heart stops. A chill runs down my spine. Every edge, every corner in the room suddenly goes sharp. I can't breathe. And before I know it, my horrified scream ripples through the air. Into the meat grinder unlocked. A few hours afterwards, the whole place dissolves into chaos. Nameless people in white suits moving in and out of the room, fellow tenants crowding the nearby hallway to get a glimpse of whatever's inside. Paramedics and police officers trying to corral a growing group downstairs. At some point, nosy journalists have started flocking in, likely for a scoop. Because it is a scoop, no matter how much I want to tell all of them to stay away. To not look at her.
Not like this. That isn't how you should see her.
It's a commotion. But amidst the ambulance's bright flashing lights, the murmur of curious bystanders, barely any of it registers. Hell, I can hardly remember anything when my landlady pulls me out of the room. I don't feel her hand against my shoulders as she ushers me out. I don't hear her muttered reassurances. Is it a gentle touch of comfort? How does her voice sound? They all come out empty, each and every one of them falling hollow on my deafened ears. Because she's gone. She's gone. Yet I can't even bring myself to shed a single tear. Much as I will myself, no matter how much I repeat the words in my head, none of it will come out.
What's wrong with me?
We're friends, aren't we? I should be crying. If not, I should be angry at whoever did this to her. Anything. Anything better than this cold, empty feeling at the bottom of my stomach. Anything better than standing around here like a useless numpty that I am, watching all these people zip by and examine her like she's just some other victim.
Female, around 20 to 25 years old.
Distant.
Time of death must be less than 5 or 6 hours ago.
Impersonal.
Cause, still unknown.
Everything about her now broken down to ruthless statistics. She has a name, damn it. She has friends here. She has a family waiting for her back home. Someone please.
Crime scene?
Second floor, sir. Just upstairs. Second room after the stairs.
Ashton.
Hold on a sec. Did you say second room after the stairs?
Exactly what I said, sir. CSM should be there to brief you further on the scene. But, if I may, Inspector, you really don't want to see the body right now. Inspector Abigail had to excuse herself for a while after, you know.
I'll be the judge of that. Thanks.
His voice drifting from stairs below falls like a splash of cold water on me. Somehow at the familiar tone of it, the world that has suddenly tilted sideways has righted itself. Every color, every sound rushes back in, and my head immediately snaps up in search of him. Another officer stops him upon reaching the floor, but a quick show of his badge is enough for them to allow him in. He doesn't waste any time. Ash quickly makes a beeline for the room and passes by where I'm standing without so much as a glance. He doesn't seem to have noticed me. His steps are even and sure as he walks by, his jaw clenched in a tight line, a complete departure from the easygoing air he gives off when he's with us. Like this, it's hard to think of that Ashton and the one in front of me as the same person. But a worried crease is on his forehead, a stiffness on the lines of his shoulders. And I know the moment that expression is on him that this news should not just come from some crime scene manager. I should say something. I need to say something. Call out to him. Stop him. Because more than anyone, he shouldn't be the one taking on this case. He may be someone who will understand how I feel about this, who knew the kind of person Isabella was. But will he be able to go at this time with the same passive indifference his associates have? Of course, I'd never doubt his capability. That's a given, and he's already proven that more than once. But this may not be easy for him. What should I do? How should I even put it? Yeah, you may want to take a picture so this lasts longer. Oh wait, we've played Zach's chapter already. I was the one who found her, the one who saw her first. Telling the rest of our group should at least be my responsibility, lessen the blow for them as much as I can. Otherwise, I'd simply hear from the news, delivering the same uncaring manner as if she'd never been a huge part of our lives these past years. I'd like to save them, save him from that pain.
Ashton, wait!
Hold on, what were my two options? So normally I don't like to pull this open. Oh. Hold on, it was tell him myself or stop him? That's lame. Oh well. Ashton stops dead in his tracks, turns, his worried expression dissolving into confusion.
Rebecca? I thought they... Are you alright?
Yeah, I'm good. But Ashton, in that room.
The words refuse to form. My mouth opens and closes, yet even with my earlier resolve and a will to force them out, they still don't. All of them still lost in the haze of glory images and the acrid tang of blood. I shouldn't have assumed this would be easier. Shame fills me, especially with that tiny glimmer of hope he carries in his gaze, the searching look on him as if he's expecting to hear some good news from me. A desperate prayer for his assumptions to be wrong. It pains me I couldn't bring him that, and I can only look away.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
His expression doesn't fade away like I surmised. There's an effort in him to keep the atmosphere light despite the shadow of death surrounding us. Slowly, he reaches up to me and gives my shoulders a squeeze, light as it can be, a tiny effort to raise my spirits and perhaps even his own.
Don't. This is no one's fault. Just stay here. Let me look at the situation. It couldn't have been her. Autopsy might reveal something different. Who knows?
Ash, I was in there. I saw her with my own eyes, and I'm sure it's...
Becca, like I said, I'll look at the situation. Stay here. I'll be back.
His tone leaves no room for argument. I see the moment he tucks it all away, his apprehension, the growing anxiety in his stomach, even the part of himself he showed us so openly before. The friendly, easygoing Ash? He hides it all, builds an even thicker wall around it. He crosses the please tape without looking back and walks into the room an entirely different person. And from my place in the doorway I witness all of it. How he never flinches nor gags at the smell of blood. How he studies and takes everything in with a straight face. How his voice drifts from inside the room every time he asks a question, in a tone even and collected. How he checks the victim's, Isabella's, lifeless body without batting an eye, going about his work as if nothing ever happened at all. As if this isn't someone he knew personally.
Doesn't this faze you at all?
Before long, Ashton goes back out the hallway, still with the same impassive look on him. He waves someone over. Another officer? Forensics. Paramedic. After witnessing that, everything has become a daze for me. The next thing I know, someone's draping a blanket over my shoulders.
Make sure she's okay and calm enough before they start taking her statement.
I don't protest when the medic starts leading me downstairs. She's speaking in hushed tones about an ambulance, though I don't understand much from it. But there's a thump. Muffled. Dull. Enough for me to miss it if I had not looked back. and the sight that greets me upon doing so is what leaves a mark in my memory before descending the stairs. There, Ashton stands with his back turned away from me, his shoulders shaking, a fist clenched firmly against the wall. Clutched tightly on his other hand is a phone, red, old by today's standards, Isabella's, and from its speakers rings a last message she probably never bothered to listen to, as well as a familiar voice.
Okay, listen. I personally know the guy. He might be able to help. I can easily get in touch with him if you want, so...
Now, to find out what he's talking about, you have to wait until I do the Everyone Lives route, because actually you'll see him in Chapter 6, I think, but we could have seen him as early as that.
I thought we all agree there'd be no work calls tonight. Pay up, Ash. That pizza fund box needs some cash.
Sorry, just a sec, Becca. Hey, I gotta go. If you get this message, just let me know, okay? I'll free my sketch if you want to check with him. No fees attached. I promise. Bye.
And just like that, I have my answer. Does this faze him? No. He's worked plenty of cases before this one. He's got almost a decade of experience on that. Nothing's new in seeing and dealing with a dead body for him. But it hurts him. This hurts him more than anything. Things are less busy where the paramedic guides me downstairs. By this time, the entire flat complex has been sealed off from any outsiders, though a considerable number of people has already flocked in front of the building. Reporters, gossips, onlookers. The size of them will probably grow until the important-looking officers clear out the area. Joy of joys. On the far side of the parking lot, a few officers interview some of the tenants, particularly the ones living closer to us. Some of them offer me pitying looks when I pass by, all of which I do my best to ignore. I don't need them. Even the sympathetic smile the medic shoots my way, I return with less enthusiasm. She is, however, kind enough to escort me to get whatever I need. The investigators will be closing off the premises while the forensics gather evidence, she informs me. And of all the things to cross my mind first...
My mail.
Instead of any basic necessities, someone in their right mind would think of first. Ridiculous. Yet she doesn't say anything, simply nods and tells me to lead the way. For that I'm grateful. Sometimes the silence is enough. And sometimes familiar sounds are enough. Even something as simple as the creaking of an old mailbox, once I pull its lid down, and the shuffling of paper against my fingers as I go through today's mail.
Bills, brochures, a letter for Mom and Dad. I should probably call them, let them know. And another one of Isabella's mail wound up in my mailbox. I should probably give this.
My hand tenses, fingers lightly tracing the name, her name, printed in bold letters at the top left area of the envelope. This'll never reach her now. She'll never be able to read this now. A breathless chuckle, a ragged breath, a trembling hand over my mouth. Then, for the first time tonight, tears well up from deep within. She's gone. The following morning arrives unlike any other day before it, glaringly bright and clear. The fact that it comes with an extra helping of the unusual October weather doesn't help either. Although I appreciate catching a glimpse of an unclouded sky after last week's bout of sickness, the sun is simply shining a little too much today, considering how the world is completely tilted on its axis last night. Too warm, too cheerful. A stark reminder of her, of the kind of person she is. She was.
That'll take some getting used to.
Everything will take some getting used to. Maybe it might have helped more if her name isn't already on every imaginable local broadsheet and news program, if everything around me doesn't evoke a memory or two. But that isn't how this usually works, does it? Easing into these thoughts, learning to go through a day without an entire person that always used to be there. 5 years may be fleeting, but it's enough time for someone to grow on you. Enough time for them to be a significant part of anyone's lives. And it's not just mine, but Ashton's and Zachary's as well. Bloody hell. A fistfight almost broke out between those two just because of this whole thing. Neither was at fault, of course. The emotions were high at the time. I left the scene as soon as the investigators are done with their questions, but...
I wonder if those two are going to be okay.
I suppose this is all part of the coping thing. A mess happens, we're left to pick up the pieces after, and not everything is going to be pleasant. It's always about making do of what you have, and if that means getting stuck staying at the inn while the police finish off their investigation, well, there's nothing I can do about that now. Luckily, the nearby cafe's manager is also kind enough to offer me a space where I can temporarily put the sudden mess that is my life in proper order. I've been sitting here for a few hours now. The manager gave me the table at the far end corner of the shop, and for the most part I was left alone. She might have something to do about that as well. Which I'm also thankful for. Were it not for her, what's left of my morning and the rest of my afternoon might not have gone as uneventful as it did. By sunset, I've already downed a few cups of coffee, informed Sangaretti I'll be taking a leave of absence today, and finished much of the tasks I've got scheduled today. Still pretty productive when everything's taken into account. All that's left for me to deal with is the mail, specifically the letter addressed from Mom and Dad, and the call I have to make because of it. I've been ignoring it the whole day, putting it off for one reason or another. Worried, afraid of what they'll hear in my voice after last night. Of course, it's not like I'm not used to being caught in situations like this or having to deliver news while feeling under the weather. This isn't the first time after all. Over the years, this has become some sort of tradition because their time in the academe naturally brought with it connections. People from other fields, art, science, business, politics, you name it. Along with it are occasional invitations to parties or some gatherings. This one, though, gives off a much personal vibe. Letters like this usually come from old students, people who have grown fond of my parents and they in turn treat like children of their own. I've only met a few of them. Most have moved on to become successful in their chosen careers, and little letters like this are their way of expressing gratitude. It's one thing Mom and Dad are proud of, rightfully so, and I'm happy for them. But there are times I wish they'll remember they have a daughter here. The real one. It's not like they didn't raise me well and provided for me. They did. I wouldn't be where I am if it weren't for their hard work. And like a dutiful child, I do everything I can to give back. Even if it's a small thing as letting them know they've got another mail waiting for them. The phone rings for a good minute before someone answers. Mom, her voice as warm as I remember.
Becca?
Hi, Mum. How's the conference going?
Well enough. Until your dad sprained his ankle.
Oh no, is it bad?
I'm alright. In case anyone in this family cares to listen, I'm alright. Very much alive, darling.
And there you have it. He'll be up and walking in a few weeks, don't worry. We're going to have to extend our stay here until it heals, though. Is something the matter?
Nothing big. Just that mail arrived for you. I got it last night, but things happened.
A lie. Thankfully, she doesn't notice. Although if I'm going to be honest, a small part of me yearns for her to do so and ask me about it, but I put down that idea almost as soon as it surfaces. I shouldn't make them fret. They're busy.
What does it say?
Raise your glasses, give cheers to the good times, blah blah.
Becca manners. That isn't how I taught you to read.
Sorry. You are cordially... it's an invitation, Mum, for a housewarming party. From, Hannah?
The name rings a bell, though at the moment I can't recall when or where I've heard it recently. It must be nothing too important if I didn't bother committing it to memory. There are a lot of Hannahs in the world, so who knows?
Hannah.
She also wrote you a note, Mum. It says you used to be her private tutor at the Evans mansion, and that she misses you and would love to see you two again.
It makes my heart clench to read another person openly say those words to them, the same ones I want to tell them. I want to see you too. It's been years since we've been together as family, and if there's one thing that hasn't changed from childhood, it's that Mom and Dad are still too busy with their respective careers. Out of the country, away on some meeting or symposium, sometimes for months on end. It only grew more frequent with the years until I'm old enough to live on my own. I'd like to think that's how I become independent at such an early age. They've always praised me for that. At times, I wish they didn't.
Evans? Oh, I remember now. Honey, it's Hannah. Hannah Evans. Remember?
married a few years ago. 7 now, I think. But, they grow up so fast, these kids.
Yeah, she invited us to that too. Fonte de Medici. But we missed that one because you had to present your paper in Singapore.
We did send her a note after. Still a shame we couldn't attend, though. What is it about this time?
She sent another invite for a housewarming party. Becca, when is it?
This Friday, Mum.
Oh, that's too bad. We'd love to be there, but Da's not in a condition to go walking around. I guess we'd have to decline again. I really miss that girl.
I could go in your place.
I let it slip without thinking. Personally, I've never been fond of gatherings, regardless how simple people make it seem. But if there's one thing I hate hearing, that disappointing note in Mom's voice always ranks first. Whether it's directed at me or some other thing doesn't matter.
Are you sure? Don't you have work this Friday?
The event will be in the evening, Mum. It shouldn't take anything away from my schedule. It's all right. The invite's for 2 people. I can bring someone with me so things don't get boring.
I see. Maybe you can also invite Ashton?
Mum, that's a sure no from him. He hates attending parties. But I'll see what I can do. If not, I can always bring...
I can always bring Isabella with me, is what I'd say. What I've gotten into the habit of saying recently. Turns out I'm going to have to grow out of that sooner than expected. Hastily, I correct myself before they note anything amiss in my tone.
I can always go alone. I'm a big girl now. I can handle these things. This isn't too much of a big deal.
Okay, if it's not going to be a big problem for you, I don't see why not. We owe you this one, darling.
No problem, Mum. I'll even say hi to Hana for you.
Please do. And let her know we'd love to see her once we're back in the city. Leave her our number or something.
I will.
But you know, the 2 of you would have become really good friends. Don't you remember? You met with her once. If my memory serves me right, you were 12 then?
This, too, I can't recall. It's probably one of those meetings where we only talked a bit before going our ways. If she did leave an impression, I'm pretty sure I would have written about it somewhere, or at least recognized her name. As it is, the only few people I remember clearly from that time in my life is Ashton and Mandy. To some extent. Mom must have sensed my confusion because she laughs.
Don't push yourself too hard, darling. Really? It felt like having 2 daughters back then. Sometimes I wish they didn't send her away to boarding school. But, well, you know how often that goes with them. Still, try talking to her while you're there.
We'll see. I'll let you know what happens after.
I'm looking forward to it, darling. Take care of yourself.
Will do. You too, Mom. Bye. Tell Da to be careful next time.
She chuckles then. A hearty one, tender and always light on my ears. She may be a stern teacher, but this is the part of her I love the most. The sound of it still echoes, even as our call comes to an abrupt end, bringing with it a memory from so many years ago. So one thing I don't understand is, so what if the guy can't walk? He'll just blend in with all the other drunks there, and it's not going to raise any flags or anything. Just tell everyone he started drinking before he got to the party, and they'll understand everything. When life and responsibilities that accompany adulthood are things far from our minds. If given the chance, I'd love to go back to those. I don't dwell on it, though, shaking it all away almost as soon as the memory forms a clear picture in my head. I've always wondered how Isabella can easily pretend everything's normal over a phone call, then bounce back to her usual self immediately after. I've seen her do it plenty of times. For me, it just drains whatever energy I have. Soon I'm leaning forward on the table, cushioning my head against my arms and closing my eyes. The last sound I hear is the news, the same headline from this morning.
The authorities are still trying to find the cause of death for all the victims. Early investigation revealed most of them were employed under Briar Realty Corporation at the time of death. Meanwhile, BRC has refused to comment on this.
Before I drift off to sleep, something reeks. A heavy, festering scent clinging into the air, wrapping itself around me like little tendrils I'm unable to shake off. Like fingers curling around my neck, twisting, winding. I can almost taste it in my mouth. At my feet, water laps against my ankles, and with every step, every ripple created, the stench only grows stronger. but I push on, pulled further by an indistinct voice in the distance.
No, I'm not at the office. Ugh, never mind. We're not safe. Not anywhere.
The clutter that greets me inside is familiar. The empty noodle cups stacked on one end, yet to be disposed of for some mundane reason. The pile of clothes to be pressed and folded. She'll get to it later, she promised. Files and papers strewn about the limited space she has, all because she needs to take her work home sometimes.
You didn't see what's in her room. That's not something another human being would do. Come on, Rebecca. You have to believe me this time.
It's stronger here. The smell. More suffocating. More invading. But there at the far corner she sits, bent over the mess littering the top of her work desk, nose almost touching the papers on it. I call out to her. Once. Twice. My voice only brimming with anger and frustration.
You're still not going to believe me. Even if someone else already died, no?
She does not respond. Something heavy lodges itself to my throat. The sound of my heartbeat thrashes against my ears. With a trembling hand, I reach for her shoulder, and gently as I can, I turn her around.
No, I'm sorry. Wake up, please. Wake up.
I wake up with a gasp, with my heart hammering hard against my chest and my lungs threatening to strain themselves from sheer force of breathing.
Stop thinking about it, Becca.
It takes a while before reality once again sets in, for me to remember where I am. Here, there's none of that clutter. No unkempt beds she keeps forgetting to put in order. No papers littering every other surface my eyes can reach. No clothes left in a jumbled pile somewhere. No empty instant noodle cups I used to remind her to clean up every other day. Only tables carefully laid out for the customers, the soundless whir of the ceiling fans above, the murmurs of people dining in, and the strong fragrance of coffee and freshly baked pastries. A sense of sharp relief overcomes me, and a long-held breath escapes.
It'll pass. This'll pass.
Close by, I can sense the manager eyeing me with a concerned glance. Beside her, the night shift guy at the counter is doing the same thing, his eyes darting from the telly in their kitchen and me. I brush it all away with a wave of my hand and start gathering my things. I'm out the door and into the busy Luxbourne night streets before they begin asking questions. Before yesterday's ghosts can catch up to me. And yet I end up back here. It's quiet now. From where I stand on the opposite side of the street, only the forensics and the scene investigators are moving in and out of the place. There are a few onlookers, sure, but none of them dare come close, unlike the last time. Some reporters are still asking the one-on-duty questions, jotting down notes from time to time, taking curious glances around. But otherwise, everything's peaceful in the area despite the hubbub this morning. If I squint, I can probably pretend things have gone back to normal after a day. However, until now, the memories are fresh. Even the smell of blood seems to linger in the air, holding on to it, clinging to it like a bitter reminder of what we lost in a single night. Crivens, the smell's yet to wash out from my hands. I've tried, burned through a whole bottle of soap at the inn, only for the scent to last no more than a few hours. Then there's the images. That single instant when I touched her shoulders, the lifeless look in her eyes when her head lobbed backwards and her arms fell lifelessly to her sides. However, more than that, more than I care to confess, is the guilt, and it feels more real than the scent or the memories. We fought that morning, outright shouted at each other.
Would it have changed anything if we didn't?
If I had treated her ideas, real or not, with less harshness, would anything have changed?
Would she still be here?
I guess I'll never know now. I let out another sigh. Another reprieve from what's weighing down on me, one of the many I've been allowing to slip out from my mouth lately. In a few days, they'll finally allow us back here, to return to our lives, and for those who are left behind to begin the process of mending. By then, will accepting be a little easier? I'd like to believe so. Suddenly exhausted, I begin my walk back to my temporary home, where I can pretend this all never happened before reality kicks in again. But short of crossing the street, a voice rings out, cutting through the thick silence, stopping me in my tracks.
What? Wait, Chief, no!
Frey, listen first.
You're in on this, aren't you?
Watch your tone, Frey. This isn't up for discussion.
So keep in mind that's Lee, in case you don't remember his voice. A closer look reveals 3 people standing near a police mobile. One of them is Ashton and LPD's chief inspector. The mobile blocks my view of the third person, but judging from the voice alone, it's Inspector Abigail. It appears to be some kind of regular police talk, but with the tone and how loud they're all speaking, it's close to brewing into a full-blown argument. Ashton in particular looks as if he wants to punch something. Or someone.
I was assigned here, Chief.
And might I remind you again, I can very well reassign you someplace else if you don't listen. Much less keep yourself in check.
I heard you the first time. I just don't see why there's a need for this. I'm doing my job, aren't I?
Course you don't see it. Should I give you a quick briefing? You snapped at a grand total of 5 people today. 5. Record-breaking, really, when it was at 0 before. That doesn't count the ones from the forensics company, by the way.
No one's asking, Abigail.
Have you taken a look at yourself since this morning? I think Officer Carl might be a little afraid of you now, in fact. First time you lashed out on him like that. Actually, that was the first time we ever heard you lash out at anyone, and I must admit that was quite a show while it lasted.
I did not lash out at Officer Carl. Or anyone. Stop exaggerating things.
Oh, do you want to bet on that? Because I'm in serious need of cash right now.
Christ, Abigail, I already told you it was just...
Or is it because of the victim? I heard you were friends with her, but this is getting a bit out of hand for a friend, don't you think? Is there something you're not telling us?
He falters into silence. A pained expression falls across his face as his hands clench into fists. It doesn't last, but in that short second I caught a glimpse of what he's been thinking, what's been going through his mind the entire time. Just like the night before, and that last glimpse of him with his back turned against me. But to see it up close, so openly displayed in front of other people, is an entirely different thing. He's never one to let his walls down like that. Now it's falling apart, piece by piece, without his meaning to.
That's none of your business.
Oh, no, it is my business, all right? I'm the one running this investigation, and you know how I do everything. This one most certainly does not have a place for young detectives with a bloody temper. You better stand down, hotshot, or I'm kicking you out with or without Chief here. My crime scene, my rules.
I don't have a fucking bloody temper! Will you give it a rest already?
Enough! Frey, get out of here. Take a chill pill. I don't need someone reckless running around this crime scene right now.
Chief, you can't be serious.
I am, I can, and I just did. Go on, out of this place, out of my sight!
I'm in the middle of...
Pass it to Abigail. All of it. She'll handle this for now until... I don't know. Till your head's back in its proper place?
No, you can't just...
Frey, this is an order. Take a bloody chill pill. Or go get some coffee, ice cream, whatever it is you like to eat. I don't care, as long as you clear your head. Come back when you've stopped looking like you want to dismember the person next to you. Is that clear?
Chief, please, not this case. I
asked. Did I make myself clear, Detective Inspector?
Another pause. This one far heavier than the previous, and bears the weight of his complete resignation on the matter. He doesn't look them in the eye when he answers, nor does his tone carry any of his frustrations. But his wall is back.
Loud and clear.
I did not hear you.
Loud and clear, sir.
Good kid. Off you go. I don't want to see your pretty mug here in the next few hours. You're dismissed.
Yes, sir.
Except this time, it has been rebuilt in the wrong place, at the wrong time, for an entirely different reason. Knowing him, when it's like this, it will not hold long.
Don't worry about missing out on anything. I'll keep you updated once you return, all right? Take a break for now. You haven't slept since last night.
Thanks.
They leave him after with a pat on the back and nothing else. But anger and frustration together are cold, ugly things to carry, much less to swallow. For someone like Ashton, coping with it is a whole different uphill climb. His is not the kind that fades away with the time, nor easily forgotten. It's the sort that he keeps close, allows to fester and drive him. But when that doesn't work, when all of what keeps his mind occupied is taken from him, he's nothing but lost. That anger, too, loses its direction. So he fumes, stalks off to someplace where he can be alone, where he can find something to vent it out on, where people won't see more of him beyond what he chooses to show. If that doesn't work either, he'll go back to the first step and do everything again, all until everything becomes a vicious cycle and it eats him whole, changes him entirely as a person. He hates it when people meddle. He hates it more when people see him like this. But it isn't something he has to carry alone. This too is ours to bear. I won't let him suffer this alone. With that in mind, I follow after him. Minutes later, I finally track Ashton down in a nearby park. He can't sit still, pacing back and forth, running a hand through his hair in a gesture of frustration every other pass he makes. At some point, he decides to take it out on a poor park bench, only for his foot to regret it at all afterwards. He returns to pacing then. Has been at it for the last 5 minutes, and at this point, he might end up digging a trench on the ground if he doesn't let up.
Someone should stop him.
When I followed him here, I've intended to put an end to this, had a whole speech prepared for him. But now that I'm staying in close proximity to his temper, to him, I can't bring myself to even approach. My feet simply won't move the instant I saw him. Before long, my own resolve starts to wane, gradually fading away underneath the uncertainties. What will he think? Will he appreciate this? He hates it when people interfere with his affairs, and here I am barging in on his business as if it's something I'm entitled to share. When did I start thinking this way? When did I start thinking this is okay?
Why did I think this would be a good idea?
I'm stepping back before I know it, although I don't make it far. In my rush, I accidentally step on a stray wrapper that somehow missed the trash. It crunches under my foot, and the stillness of the park at this time is loud enough to disturb. Ashton halts, looks up, his vexed expression making way for bewilderment.
Becca? You aren't supposed to be here.
It isn't meant to be an accusation or to be taken like one. It's a simple statement, yet it sounds far from it all the same, a question underneath. Facing it now, I hesitate.
I heard, you know.
Direct, straight to the point, as clear-cut and as forthright as I can manage. There's no way out of this, no way to go but forward and straight into the heart of the problem. Dancing around these issues hold little meaning now after our loss, consequences be damned. Because more than thought of me and his anger is the thought of another thing consuming him, his grief. I'm more afraid of losing him to that. Someone has to reach out before he strays.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The chief? Inspector Abigail? Just outside the parking lot? Does any of that ring a bell? I was there, Ash. I heard all of it.
Would it have changed anything if you didn't? Don't rub it in. What were you even doing back there anyway? Didn't they tell you the place is sealed off until we're done?
You're in no position to tell me what to do right now, Ashton.
I'm not... Listen here, Becca. We're already having enough trouble trying to pin down the asshole who did this. We can't find a shred of evidence. Don't add to our problems.
How am I adding to your problems? I just happened to end up there, and all I did was stand. That place is also my home, in case you forgot. Seriously, Ash, what happened? What's happening to you? I've never seen you act like this over a case. You can always talk to me.
I can't just talk, Becca. How many times do I have to tell you that?
That doesn't mean I'll stand around and do nothing while you're doing everything to apparently ruin yourself.
What part of you shouldn't get involved do you not understand?
I wasn't trying to get myself involved in anything. I'm just asking what the problem is. Your problem. Maybe I can help, you know? Just like how we used to as kids.
We're not children anymore, Becca. This isn't as simple as the games we used to play back then. You saw what they did to her, with your own eyes. Whoever did this knows exactly what they're doing. If you don't stop butting in on police business, You could end up like the victim.
Wrong. So many things going wrong in this talk. His stubbornness, his stupid assumptions, even this whole crazy idea of keeping us safe he has going on in his head. Is he expecting people to just accept everything as they are? But out of everything that came out of his mouth, that last bit takes the whole bloody cake over everything.
The victim has a name, Ash, and that victim is your friend. Why is it so difficult to say her name now when you've done it plenty of times before?
Does it matter now? She's gone. Even Zach made a bigger issue out of that. There are other things you two should really be...
It does matter. To you, it does. For a long time. You've always...
You've always seen her in a different light. Far different from the way he'd look at other people, Zachary or me. Always with the tiny gleam in his eyes, the darting glances and the kind smiles. Little things, little gestures. To others it may seem nothing, but to him it means the whole world, because it's the only way he can say everything without fumbling or losing his nerves. Right from the very start, and I don't need to ask the why. I've always had an inkling. The thought has always been there, hiding, tucked and neatly sealed away at the back of my mind, in the same manner he keeps his own secrets close to himself. Which is why when he swallows hard, allows his arms to fall limp to his sides, and shifts his gaze away, there's no jolt, no surprise in me. Just a slow, painful, burning realization of a long-held truth. Of feelings never meant to be for me. And yet in the end...
Like I said, it doesn't matter. You guys need to understand that whatever I say or do right now, this case isn't going to solve itself.
In the end, it's him who cowers from it.
You keep on saying case this, case that. But this isn't just about the bloody investigation anymore, is it?
Well, you seem to have a better idea what it is. Why don't you lay it all out to me, so I'll understand? Maybe I'm missing something. Because honestly, I don't know what else this could be, other than what we've been telling the press. A fucking homicide case. The victim was murdered, and if you bring up that stupid letter again...
Will you quit saying that?
Well, what do you want me to say then?
Stop lying to yourself!
I'm lying? Becca, look here,
No! Enough! Enough with your cool act! I'm having none of it! You listen, and you listen good! Stop this! Stop lying! Stop telling yourself everything and this is normal for you! Because it's not! It never was! It never will be!
Rebecca, I think you need to calm down.
Stop pretending Isabella no longer equates into all of this just because she's gone! Because that is a big, fat lie coming from you! She matters because it's her! She always did! No one else! For you, she always did.
The very meaning behind it freezes him into place, and any excuses or diversions dies on his tongue. There's more to it, however. Beyond his unmoving stance and his sudden, unfocused stare, there's understanding and fear. He's aware I'm right, and every word I'm about to articulate are the very same ones he's been avoiding. But these need to be said, even if it means having him face the unpleasant.
Regardless of what you're telling me or Zachary, I know that out of all of us, you're the one taking this the hardest.
I allow my voice to fade, into the night, into the chilly air blowing in the distance between us, cold, sharp, unforgiving, much like the truths we have to face. Ashton is silent for quite some time, but the earlier shock in his face has given way to something flaccid, subdued. And when that silence becomes too unbearable for him as well, he forces himself to move, to pace. Treading the ground once again, one perturbed footstep after another, and running a furious hand to his hair before dropping it to his side. The proofreading is really bad in this chapter. Later, when that too turns inadequate, he gives the park bench another good kick. This time, if it brings any pain to him, he simply takes it all in, as if that alone will dull the other pain.
Fuck.
Regardless, he continues, but this time there's something in his voice. A bitter note dropping in nothing more than whispers he mutters to himself, a sound he meant only for his ears to hear, but reverberates clearly in the park's stillness.
Ash, maybe you should...
Damn it. Damn it. God damn it. I was hoping. Damn it. I was hoping to for her to...
His throat closes up. His words choke off, getting lost in his sorrow. Unable to continue, he passes a hand over his eyes instead, letting out a slow, ragged breath that brings him neither a sense of comfort nor relief. It's simply another reminder of what he failed to do.
She's... I couldn't even... Damn it, all these years, telling myself she's... that I love... And yet I couldn't even...
And this is when he breaks. Piece by piece. Brick by brick. The walls he struggled to put up all came tumbling down, all of his defenses caving in, weakening as it bears the brunt of his grief. His words are halting when the first tears begin to fall, his shoulders shaking, hands clenched tightly, his fists holding onto something quickly slipping away from him. Or maybe it already did. Maybe this comes from all those missed opportunities. Her departure took it all with her, and what he's clinging to right now are merely the fragments. Remnants of all the what-ifs and should-haves.
I knew this was going to be a difficult case. The moment I saw it, I knew. There was barely any evidence. Not even a sign of someone else breaking in. And she's just there. I've been at this since last night, and I couldn't find anything that would help. I hate this. I hate feeling this stupid, this helpless. I can't even begin to imagine what she felt before she figures, huh? Turns out I'll mess this up too, huh?
In truth, I do not know how to answer that, or if he's expecting any from me. It's one of those questions where there's really no exact answer to. Same with those little regrets now surfacing, lingering. Any other day I'd tell him exactly how I see it without havering? Okay. That, no matter how, there's no way we could have prepared for this. No way we could have known things would lead to this. But those are opinions better left for another day. When we're hurting less, when we aren't reeling from what has been haphazardly thrown at us. After all, platitudes tend to cease their usefulness at some point. And in its place, I have nothing else to offer but a shoulder to cry on. We're an awkward fit like this, with his trembling shoulders and short heaving breaths. Though he allows it, he doesn't return the gesture, nor do I expect him to do so. Unlike Isabella, who has always been open and free with her fondness for people, personal space has always been a matter of importance for the two of us. Ashton most of all. But for the time being, this'll do.
Bamport, you're an idiot.
I'm here unlocked.
Of course I know how you're feeling about this. Who do you think I am? We grew up together, didn't we? I know you better than anyone. Stop forgetting stuff like that. Drill it into your head if you must.
We'll take what little comfort we can gain from this, beyond what reassurances mere words can offer. And in this short moment we share, this is enough. We exchanged no words after. Simply staying there for a good half of the hour, letting the late-night din of the city, the rustling of leaves, and the hum of the crickets nearby filled the air around us. We remained like this until his sobs finally fully subside, and what's left of it are nothing more than soft whimpers. When at last he pulls away from me, it's as if the heavy atmosphere has finally lifted around us, and what he carries with him no longer burdens him the way it did minutes ago. Not completely, though. Even with this, it'll take longer for everything to fade, and neither will it be easily forgotten, especially when it has taken root so deeply in our lives. But he's calm now. It's better this way, because only in the aftermath is when he'll learn to deal, to cope.
Is it going to be okay now?
It's a start. I can't always walk him through this, he knows that too. So when he answers, he asks nothing more of me, and only answers in the best manner he can, without reverting back to anger or locking himself away.
Yeah, a little, I guess. I don't know. This is... it'll take some time. There's still the investigation and the evidence, if we can even find any. Plus, the lab still has to test everything.
Ash, I'm not asking about the case. Although that's important, trust me, I want to know who did this as much as you do. At least then, I'll have a proper reason to hit someone. But I'm asking about you. Are you going to be okay?
Another mirthless expression flickers shortly across his features before he looks away, his eyes focusing on some distant area of the park. There's a hint of yearning in them, probably searching for that one person who can never be here from now on. It's gone, he's already talking in the next second before I can prompt him.
I'll be fine. A bit of adjustment here and there, maybe. I'll be okay. I've survived worse things.
I doubt he believes those, but I don't question him further on it, and neither does he let me.
But thanks for asking. And for this. Sorry you had to see me like that.
What? Don't be so embarrassed about it now. This isn't the first time, remember? Back in secondary? If I recall, someone had to snap you out of that sulk, too.
Yeah. No. Don't remind me. And don't sound so proud of it.
Why not? I mean, you've done more embarrassing things in front of other people, and I always have to...
That's the point. It's embarrassing.
Oh, come on. Now you're feeling ashamed about it? For the record, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. But let's just leave it there, Becca. And if you can, if possible, can you not... Don't mention this to Zach. For now. I'll never hear the end of it.
There are a lot of things he intentionally leaves out in that. So many things he refuses to tell, and it's all being hidden under that false front. His hesitance alone, the shift in his tone from that banter, speaks volumes. Zachary has never been one to easily judge people. It's part of the reason why Ashton hangs out with him despite their rather disastrous first meeting. The big guy learning about this little episode won't make any difference nor even change things around them. It's just one of the many things they learn to accept, or in some cases tolerate about each other. Of course, it doesn't mean things like the punching incident this morning never occurs. That doesn't mean it can't be easily fixed, though. Sometimes all they need is a little push. Kids.
Zachary will understand.
Yeah, I know. I know that. But I'd rather talk to him in person first. About other things. And when we're in better terms, maybe we can laugh about this. But right now...
I won't mention anything. Don't worry. Though, like I said, Zachary will understand. You are just doing your job, and that kind of news isn't easy to swallow. Anyone would have reacted that way, even if it's someone like Zach. In fact, if I didn't know the big guy, he's probably feeling guilty about it like you're doing now. Trust me, it'll be okay.
He merely smiles in reply, strained and a bit awkward, but I take it for everything it stands for right now. Today and in the next, a little drop of optimism could do us some good. Even if things appear a wee bit bleaker than it should be, or we're people rarely inclined to hope blindly. That kind of predisposition has always been Isabella's or Zach's department, never from us who sticks to facts and what we can see in front of us. But this time, taking a page from their book isn't so bad. What is there left to lose? We don't stay long. The evening might be pleasant and the park offers a peaceful enough place to muse on things, but we have work to do. Both of us. And though Ashton doesn't openly express it, I know he still wishes to be alone after this and mourn in his own way. The heaviest of his burden might have already been lifted, but there are parts he continues to hold close, bits and pieces more difficult to let go of. Those are the ones I can never reach. And in spite of the fact that the mere thought of it sends my heart clenching, I can't bring myself to begrudge him over it. In this way, we are the same. Some wounds simply take longer to heal. Which is why I don't stop him, and quietly we part ways. He goes straight off to Salem again, only leaving me a small promise to get to the bottom of this, while I head back to the city proper. Where an unfamiliar room and more awful dreams probably wait for me. And perhaps it's exactly the fear of being left with these thoughts of my own that leads me back to the cafe instead.
Delaying the inevitable, they say.
Less time to think about these things as long as I'm awake, moving and in the company of other people. At this hour, the cafe is usually filled to the brim with people. That's the reason Isabella and I rarely ever go here during the evenings. It's simply too much of a hassle when we can prepare food ourselves in the comfort of our homes, and there really isn't much reason to eat out lately. What with life going on a busy streak? No time for long lines. Better spend that doing something productive, yes?
Lucky there isn't one tonight.
Only a few people are idling around the counter. 4 of them, in fact. A woman in her 60s and a teenager busy with his phone. Both are just waiting to be served their orders. The other 2, a posh-looking man and a child, who I immediately recognize as Kylie, appear to have not yet picked anything they want. For some reason, my stare lingers at the guy. Though dressed relatively well and looks harmless, I haven't seen him around these parts before. Someone new in the neighborhood, perhaps? Even so, there's something familiar in him. Feels like I've seen him somewhere before. That also begs the question of why Kylie is with him. Of course, the girl easily takes a liking to anyone who buys her sweets, so it's both a bit worrisome and unsurprising. The blonde bloke doesn't look particularly thrilled with the company, though. I tear my eyes away from them soon enough once the guy at the counter appears, ready to take my order. That, and I'd also hate to be accused of ogling strangers.
Irish stew. Just for one person.
He quickly raises an eyebrow at that while I swiftly avert my eyes down to my hands, though I don't miss the consoling look he gives me. I rarely visit here alone if I can help it. Often it's always with Isabella. She can be a bad influence sometimes. But that's precisely why this guy has known us long enough that, if I ever drop by here alone, he already has a number of ideas why. Doubtless he's already heard what happened in the news. No need to bring it up, in something as casual as ordering food. There's proper time and place for grief and empty sympathies. He gives me a small smile before leaving to prepare my order while I fish for my wallet when...
Look, you little ankle biter. If I buy you the biggest parfait they have, will you please behave? I would just like 10 minutes of peace and quiet.
You said you'll get me some bread pudding this time.
Yeah, well, darling, they said they ran out of it. Just pick another one so we can be on our way.
Their parfait doesn't look as cute as the one my mom bought me.
Parfait is just ice cream, sweetheart. It'll melt no matter how dainty it appears. In the end, it'll all look like an ugly puddle. Now come on, just pick one. It could even be the most expensive one on that list. I don't give a shit. I don't care. Oh, what I would give for someone to buy you off my hands right now.
Now you know why he doesn't want her room next to his. What? My whole attention instantly snaps back to them in a conversation. Jumping to conclusions isn't something I'm particularly fond of, especially when all I have are baseless assumptions. But you can't really trust a stranger these days. No one around the cafe seems to have noticed his words either. Very suspicious words. Still, I don't move. Yet. But my hand has already shifted from my wallet to the book I'm carrying. A hardbound textbook. Looks harmless, but if the situation calls for it, it might be a good deadly weapon. Might. I haven't gotten the chance to try it anywhere so far. Today could be the day.
But you promised.
Look, if you don't want a parfait, how about a Bonifay pie? I'm sure it'll taste just as good as any other bread pudding. I'll even buy you the entire tray. How does that sound?
That's not what you said before.
Well, sweetheart, adults change their minds sometimes.
You said if I come with you, you'll buy me a bread pudding, and I did, and now you won't keep your promise. I want to go home. I miss my mom.
No, darling, if I remember correctly, and I have a good memory, honey. What I said was, if you come quietly with me, I might buy you one. The quiet part didn't happen. Though now that I'm sober, I think this is a bad idea. I should just ship you someplace else for that peace and quiet.
Oh, that's it. No hesitation. In a few paces, he's within my reach, and without warning, I'm slamming the flat area of the book against his skull.
Ow!
There's a cry of pain, followed by him instantly crouching down, hands nursing the sore spot. Almost comically, as if this were a different situation and the safety of a Sangaretti student isn't at stake, I'd partly feel sorry for him. I mean, has anyone seen how thick this book is?
Get behind me, Kylie.
Miss Pink!
It's amusing how fast her expression changes from the pouty one earlier to something that of utter delight upon seeing me. But there's no time for any pleasantries. Not even quick ones, because soon the man straightens and I'm ready in my favorite newfound weapon for another hit. Except this time he's ready. Before I can land another one, his hand shoots up to catch my wrist in a firm hold. And the look on his face.
Bloody hell, woman! What's your problem?
To say he's pissed would be a complete understatement. Had I been the weak-willed sort, I'd probably cower under this sharp gaze. But that simply isn't how I roll. Typical Scott, I swear. If he thinks he can scare me and do as he pleases here, just because I'm a woman or whatever his reasons may be, he's got another thing coming for him. So instead I return it to him with the same intensity, with the same venom.
What's my problem? You're the one who has a problem here. Rotten bowbags like you don't deserve the freedom to run this town.
So keep in mind she's pronouncing this incorrectly. I think it's bawbags, like it actually looks like.
What are you doing to this girl?
And why is that any of your business, pray tell?
Oh, it's my business if I make it to be. Now, release me or I'll call the police.
Oh, you think that scares me, Daisy?
I have a name, you sleazy douchebag.
Oh, I'm sure.
His grip on my hand only tightens when I attempt to shake it off. His tone may be dripping with anger and sarcasm, but the gleam in his eye says it all. He's getting a kick out of this. Riling people up, getting on their nerves, invading their personal space. He knows exactly what and which buttons to push. The nerve of this person. The nerve of this asshole. If he thinks I'm going to give in to his goading, please, he might as well just kiss his sorry behind. In fact, why not do the most sensible thing right now? Teach him a tough lesson. So, based on people's reactions to Luke, we're going to go ahead and hit him.
Mister, you have until the count of 5 to let me go and step out of my personal space.
A fair warning. Fairer than any I can offer people of his kind, and I'm already being considerate. Hell, this asshole doesn't even deserve a warning. If he doesn't listen, well, he's as much responsible for what will happen next as anyone.
Or else what? Such vulgar words coming out of that pretty mouth. A gorgeous flower like you shouldn't even be saying.
Don't say I didn't warn you, bowbag.
Love that intensity, Daisy. FYI, I like feisty in a woman. It gives them this certain charm.
So, unfortunately, I don't think we ever saw the area below Rebecca's knees. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is, if you don't know, some Scots actually do carry a knife in their socks. It's called a skein dhu, I believe, or something like that. And they're actually, like, that's legal to carry in Britain. So, if you, in his situation, it's actually very reasonable to assume she's armed. So he does need to be careful she wouldn't actually pull that knife if she had one.
Why don't you?
5.
A second of silence. Then, without any preamble, my leg moves in one fluid motion, delivers a swift, powerful, well-placed kick to his nether regions. So that was the nuts and bolts achievement. Needless to say, the effect is instantaneous. He yelps, abruptly drops his hold on me, and kneels over, howling from the pain. I can see tears forming at the corner of his eyes, too, though the mere sight of it prompts not an ounce of remorse for me. I would have been gentler if he wasn't such a dirty little prick with an ego too big for his head. Too bad. Whether this obliterates any chance of him ever procreating remains to be known, but a part of me is already praying he doesn't ever breed after this. We have no need of more of him in this world.
You mad woman!
I think he may have preferred the knife at this point.
I warned you, you ass!
Why, this is harassment, I'm telling you! Harassment!
Then why don't you tell that to the police once they get here,
You despicable! Whatever you're assuming I am, I'll have you know it's all in your head. None of it's true. You best have that pretty brain of yours checked before that gets worse. What is wrong with you? Is this the face of someone who'd do anything suspicious?
Let's see if she says it.
Oh? You don't think a stranger luring an innocent child with promises of sweets before whisking them away from their parents doesn't warrant any suspicion? You have a very funny definition of suspicious, asshole. Maybe you're the one who should have that head of yours checked.
The kid asked me to buy her sweets. You're the one who's suspicious here. I'll have you know, I have a wife!
That much at least appears to have a sliver of truth to it. He even makes a show of brandishing his left hand in my face with much flourish. Sure enough, a wedding ring is there, though all that earned him is an unimpressed glare from me. Immediately, a small part of me starts to feel sorry for whatever poor woman married this soul, the sod. I don't understand why he has to bring her up either, as if the mention of her alone will magically present a solution to his problem. She must truly be a remarkable woman if she can handle a dirtbag like him.
And even my wife of all people in this bloody city, has never, I'm telling you, accused me of such a scandalous thing! You crazy woman!
Married or not, you're still a sleaze. Honestly, I feel...
Miss Pink, why are you fighting with my Teal?
Whatever words still left to be said here dies on my tongue. The same thing goes for the sleaze. Besides us stands Kylie, gawking at us with the same curious stare she often brings with her. I know that look all too well, a precocious child through and through. She doesn't say anything further, her gaze simply moves between us, eyeing us both carefully, clearly anticipating an answer. From my experience, when it gets like this with children her age, it's a sure sign they won't leave you until you've given them an answer they're satisfied with. Lying won't do either, it is dissolved into a shouting match for heaven's sake. And did she just say Tio? Something falls straight to the pit of my stomach at that. But my tone is gentle when I finally address her, void of any apprehension and what might be the first hints of embarrassment. I pointedly ignored the latter. It can very well be just the hunger speaking.
Kylie, sweetie, do you know this oath?
Yeah, he's Teal Luke.
Right at that moment, my brain stops. Every line of thought, every argument I still have against the man beside me dissipates in a haze. Amidst all of it, one memory gets triggered from a few days ago.
Tio? The one you mentioned before? The uncle? The guy Rowan wanted to impress? Or was that a dare? I'm sorry, I can't recall. Is it the one who promised he'll take Big Brother someplace cool?
Yeah, the one and the same. Don't you know who he is?
I sure as hell don't, darling. Because if I do, I wouldn't have let everything I've said earlier come out of my mouth.
He's my Teal Luke. Gazillionaire extraordinaire, am I? No, the fairy godfather.
He's your godfather. That's nice.
The one and only. Did I get that right, Tio?
More than right, sweetheart. I'm sure Miss Pink here understood everything you said quite perfectly.
Whatever it is that landed at the bottom of my stomach prior has shot straight up to my face and stayed there. The heat from it slowly spreading to my cheeks, coloring my face in almost the same shade as my hair. If only the earth would swallow me whole here and now. His eyes are on me. I can feel them jeering, mocking. I can't even bring myself to look at him. What's in there? Amusement? I doubt it. He's probably having the time of his life right now. But I know. I can hear the sneer in his tone alone when he talks. He has that smug grin on him, which I may or may not want to punch off his face at present just for the hell of it. But damage control. I need to do some damage control before this whole thing goes south. No, we want it to go south. Of course, an apology is the most appropriate thing to say. But no matter how much I will myself to do it, my own body refuses to budge. My own mouth refuses to open, and my head rejects the very idea of looking at him. No apology for an asshole. Next to someone with an ego too big for his head. Let his pride suffer. I am not going to eat my words for the sake of stroking his damn ego. Less reason for him to gloat. Kylie, however, I owe an explanation.
Don't worry, Kylie. I'm not fighting with your Tio. This is just, a discussion. A very serious discussion between a very mature adult and one that's not.
Really? But I've never seen Tio angry before.
It's because he's losing the argument.
Or he has a hangover and they're shouting.
But don't ever follow his example, Kylie. You should always learn to be patient, even if things aren't going your way, okay?
Oh sure, a discussion. And it involves hitting random strangers you meet at a cafe with a book. A hardbound book. Mind you, The little me hasn't recovered yet. If my future generation never survives from this, we are going to have more than words, woman!
I don't allow Kylie to hear his tirade and cover both of her ears with my hands. As fond as she is of that man, there are words he shouldn't be saying in front of a child. How could he not know about that? More importantly, how on earth did someone like him become a godfather? Who allowed it? Maybe I should talk to Mrs. Suarez about it. Warn her how he's not a good influence for her children.
Language! How can you use such crude words in front of her? Your goddaughter can hear you, for heaven's sake.
Oh, and you didn't. If I remember everything correctly, you called me a rotten beau.
So you're going to repeat it in front of her, just to make a point? What, are you 5? Even 5-year-olds are more sensible than you.
Even Isabella. I can say that with much certainty.
Even 5-year-olds are more sensible than you.
See what I mean?
Are you fighting again?
Oh, no. Like I said, we were just having a discussion. We're actually done now. But you need to promise Miss Pink you will never grow up like this guy. Good kids don't do what he's doing.
But I like Tio.
And I'm quite sure Tio likes you too. But liking people is different. Just because you like him doesn't mean you have to be like him. There are better role models for you aside from him.
Like you?
Not exactly what I'm trying to get at. But if that's what you want, I don't see why not.
Okay, I want to be like Miss Pink someday. I want to be a teacher, and I promise I won't be like Tio, even if he's a gazillionaire.
Wow, turning my own goddaughter against me. How mature of you, Miss Pink.
His tone makes me pause. For the first time since this talk started, I look at him. Briefly, something flashes behind his eyes. Something close to what might be an expectation falling. Dismay. I can't be sure. It passes almost as soon as it appears. What's that about? Does he actually like having Kylie around? It doesn't seem like it from the get-go, but if that fond smile on him is anything to judge by, then maybe...
Don't worry, Tio. If you buy me bread pudding tonight, I'll like you again.
Aw, if that's all it takes, consider it done, sweetheart. We might have to find another place to buy it from, though. Somewhere safe, where a random crazy woman isn't going to attack us out of the blue. Let's go.
You can tell he doesn't play RPGs. Normal people would love random encounters like that.
Okay. Bye, Miss Pink. I still like you, just not more than Tio anymore. See you.
Kylie's already pulling him to the cafe's exit before I can protest on it. Although it's not like there's anything to object on further. I may view that man, Luke, as someone hateful, maybe to the point of seeing him as an eyesore, but I don't think that'll have any bearing on what the child thinks of him. When you think about it, if she admires him so much like that, then maybe there's still something agreeable in him. A part of him only Kylie sees. He still has the gall to wink at me before they both disappear behind the door, so maybe not. However, there's no moment to ponder about it. Seconds later, the guy at the counter waves me over and hands me a paper bag as soon as I paid. He offers me another smile before I leave. Normally I return it simply for the sake of returning it, or I don't at all, with the latter happening more commonly. For the time being, I do so freely. After that encounter and the scene we've caused, seeing a friendly gesture being extended to me, albeit from a person I barely know on a personal level, it feels like a reassurance despite bearing no promise of better days. I take what little I can of it with me as I step out into the night. And yeah, this is gonna have to be a 3-parter.